Hello everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Mason. Today, I want to talk about 3 short books that really helped me improve some certain areas of my writing and that I want to recommend that maybe they will help you with your writing as well. One of them is a masterclass in atmosphere. One of them is a great lesson in how to attain character voice. And the last one is all about subtlety in emotion. And so I picked 3 shorter books because they're easy. They're easy to read. They're easy to get through. They don't take that long and you can get a lot out of them. I've been on just like a big short book kick lately. And so I wanted to recommend 3 of my favorites just because I think they're great stories. I think they stand the test of time. I think that they're like instant classics, but also because I think that they'll make us better writers. As you know, reading from the perspective of a writer, I think that these are great stories that teach us a lot. Now, all of these are really well-rounded. I don't want to make it seem like, the one that's about atmosphere is only about atmosphere. These are all incredibly well-rounded stories, but I want to specifically talk about some things that really stand out and why I think these books will improve our writing if we take the time to read them. So, the very first one I want to introduce is We've Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, the great Shirley Jackson. I have on my Haunting of Hill House shirt here in honor of this video. Love, love, love Shirley Jackson. If you've never read anything of hers, you definitely need to. One of the queens of horror. And she is all about the atmosphere. And I think when we think about atmosphere, we often think about description, but atmosphere is so much more than just describing an eerie location. Atmosphere is about the dialogue. It's about this sense of uneasiness, this sense of dread that we kind of get into the character's mind, and it just creates this beautiful anxiety. I know that's a bit of a contradiction, but I think that really describes a lot of Shirley Jackson's work really well. So this book specifically is very short. It's about these 2 sisters that are living in this mansion, kind of at the outskirts of this town, and they're seen as outsiders. I think their grandpa or their uncle live with them. It's been a while since I've read this, but so they're living in this house and they're like outsiders and just getting like into their head, and they're so quirky and they're so strange. And it's told from the perspective of the younger of the sisters. And I just love the way that Shirley Jackson develops this character. And I just think it's so eerie. And there's just a sense of like, what is like really going on here? There's something not quite right. And it creates this incredible atmosphere about this book. And then one of their relatives comes into town and starts to kind of turn things upside down. And it really changes kind of this simple, comforting life that the sisters are currently living, and really like takes them out of their comfort zone because they are not looked at well by the town. They don't like leaving the house. A lot of anxiety about that. And so it's a great story. It's fantastic. Like I said, it creates this sense of atmosphere, of dread, of looming, like what exactly is really going on here? You know that there's more beneath the surface, but Shirley Jackson doesn't like ever directly state things about it that, it's not very ham-fisted. It's all very subtle. And I just think this is just a masterclass in atmosphere. All of Shirley Jackson's work is amazing. I've read her short story collection, at least that one that I'm showing on screen. It includes The Lottery, like her famous short story that really was a hallmark of horror literature at that time and literature in general. Of course, The Haunting of Hill House, great book, but I wouldn't recommend this one. It's very short. I think it's one of her best works. And if you're trying to work on your atmosphere, not just description, of course the description's great in here, but not just description, the dialogue, the voice of the character, they really give you this sense of uneasiness, of something's not quite right, and create this incredibly haunting atmosphere. So yeah, big fan of this book, would highly recommend it. We've Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. The next book that I think is all about voice, I think it has one of the best voices in modern literature, and that is True Grit by Charles Portis. Now, stick with me here if you're like, what is this? It's like a Western or something. Yeah, but this is so much more than that. This book is so much more than just any old like stereotypical Western. I just like have to gush about Charles Portis a little bit. He's one of my favorite authors. I absolutely adore all of his work. I've recommended this book to so many people. It's short, it's so well-rounded, it's exciting, and it's suspenseful, and it's funny. Oh my God, it's so funny. And the character of Maddie Ross has such fantastic voice to her, and it's one of the primary reasons I wanted to recommend this book. She's such a strong character, and she just has this voice. It's just indistinguishable. It's written in first person perspective, and it's just, like I said, a masterclass in how to do voice. It's amazing. I'm gonna read the opening paragraph here, which I think is one of the greatest, opening lines of much of work that I've recently read. And I think that it just really sets the stage for this story and does it in such a beautiful way. People do not give it credence that a 14-year-old girl could leave home and go off in the wintertime to avenge her father's blood, but it did not seem so strange then, although I will say it did not happen every day. I was just 14 years of age when a coward going by the name of Tom Cheney shot my father down in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and robbed him of his life and his horse and $150 in cash money, plus 2 California gold pieces that he carried in his trouser band. It tells you everything you need to know what the story's about. You immediately get the voice of Maddie Ross, and I think it's such an amazing opening paragraph. The audiobook for True Grit is on YouTube. It's free. And it was done by Donna Tartt, who's a big fan of this book. And of course, Donna is an amazing author in her own right. And she loves this book. And she does this voice so well, the Arkansas Southern voice. I think it's incredible. So definitely check out the audiobook for an easier way to read it. I think it's 6 hours long. And this is just an amazing story. So well-rounded, so funny. So I cannot say enough things about why I love this book. I recommend it to so many people. And really, if you're wanting to work on voice as a writer, I think this is a great place to start. I also just love Charles Portis in general. I have a lot of his books. This is actually everything he wrote, including True Grit. And all of his books are hilarious. They're very different from True Grit. True Grit is a bit more of an adventure story, this kind of Western-ish type thing. But all of his other books are more comedy heavy, I would say. Masters of Atlantis specifically is so funny. And I think it's kind of fitting in our modern era of conspiracy theories and stuff. It's basically about these two idiots who stumble on some book of gibberish and they think it's some text from God, and they start this cult and blah 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 from it. And it's so funny. If you Google this book, you'll see a lot of famous comedy writers that cite this as one of their favorite books. It's definitely a hidden gem. So anyway, love Charles Portis. True Grit, amazing masterclass in voice. And then the last book is something I just finished not that long ago, and I was so moved. It is Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. This takes place in the 80s in basically a small town in Ireland, and I really don't want to say much more than that. It is just so subtle. This is all about subtlety in emotion. If you want to ramp up the emotion in your book, and you've tried several ways, and you feel like sometimes your stories, when you're trying to amp up this emotion, it feels like it's coming across too forced or too heavy-handed, read Small Things Like These. It is so subtle. It is so quiet. And I know some people, when they say quiet books, some people will automatically assume that it's boring, but it's not at all. The scenes, they go so quick. It feels like Claire Keegan knows when to end a scene. The scenes feel like they end early sometimes, but they just leave you with so much to think about. There's such just so much that's going on beneath the surface of this very, very short story. Or very, very short novel. I would call it a novella. And it's incredibly beautiful, so moving. And only once she's established this subtlety and emotion, only once you're invested in the story in the last few pages, does she really ramp up the sentimentality. And it made me cry. This book was so beautiful. And I think it's just, like I said, it's just amazing at subtlety in emotion. There's so much going on beneath the surface. There's tons of great authors that do this sort of style, but this was just really exemplifies how you don't need to beat the reader over the head with emotion. It can be so subtle and so beneath the surface, and Small Things Like These, highly recommend it. So those were 3 books. I really didn't have a plan for exactly what I was going to talk about with all of them, so I know, as usual, these videos are a bit rambly. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll be back with more later. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot. And I'll talk to you later. Until the next one. Bye.